Hello, Tracy here with another Project Life Process video. I'm starting off with a few inserts here. This is just an 8.5 by 11 page protector, which I just buy them in bulk from Amazon. They're Amazon Basics brand. And I have a few little handouts here. One is the cover of the Washington Post for the day that the Queen died. And the other is actually a tick related handout on how to check yourself for ticks. Those I will actually discuss in another video where I talk about the inserts. In this video, I'm only going to show you the process for my main spread for week number 36. So I have a whole bunch of photos here, and I have my my Design A page templates there, and I know that I'm going to have more photos than what can fit on a typical 2-page spread, so I know I'm going to put at least one more insert besides that one that you just saw. So I just grabbed a few supplies for that. In that little white box that you see over to the right of the screen, that is where I keep all of my current Project Life kits. So that would include the Paper Person kit, the Ellie Edwards kit, as well as the Studio Calico kit for the month. And I live in Canada, and also I think some of these kits ship out a little not necessarily a month ahead. So I have mostly July and August kits in my stash there. Although in the middle of scrapping, I'm going to realize that I do have the August Studio Calico kit as well, and it has some back to school stuff in it, and it wasn't in the right spot. So I will incorporate that into my process as I go along. What I'm doing right here is I'm just using a permanent marker, and I am dating all of these photos. It's something that I forgot to do when I was printing them up. And if you follow me over on Patreon, and if you're a supporter over on Patreon, you would have seen this page come together in real time. And thank you for your support if that's the case. But I just wanted to point out that if you're interested in how I do my photo selection, how I choose which photos I'm going to print and at what sizes, and that whole process for how I keep track of what I've already printed when I'm batch printing, that I shared in the real-time video for this process video. And so if you'd like to see that, you will have to head on over to Patreon if you're interested in supporting me over there. And I do have a tip approach to Patreon where you just kind of pay what you can, starting as low as $1 per month in order to support me over there. It does help support my channel and keep me able to keep on making videos at a fair pace. And so I do appreciate your support over there. But if you don't want to or aren't interested or can't do that, I totally appreciate you just watching these videos. The Patreon is not at all necessary. You will see almost everything that I do here on my YouTube channel for free. So this is how this spread is coming together. As you can see, it's very, very photo dominant. And I think I'm just printing up a couple of other photos there because I had decided that a few of them I had printed a little bit too big. So you see me using my mouse there just to choose the photos and reprint some of them. I'll cut some of this out. Okay, so now I have the photos that I wanted. I remembered I had another photo that for some reason I didn't print of us picking up our international student at the airport. And then I wanted to print this one smaller. I didn't need a full 4x6 for that poster that the girls did for Liv. And then also that screenshot of the tick, I'm going to include that in my insert instead of in my main page here. And basically what you see me doing now is, because it's been quite a while since I've scrapbooked, it's been a very busy couple of weeks with lots of changes and transitions in our family. So I'm just refamiliarizing myself with what I've got to work with here. These are mostly summer cards, so many of these are actually not going to work for the pages that I have on the go. But the good news is that I have so many photos that I actually don't need a whole lot of cards. So I'm just picking out any that might have a fall or back to school or neutral enough theme that I can potentially use it on these pages. So as you can see, I'm putting one little collection of cards over to the right. Those are my keepers. And then the main collection of cards on the left there are the ones that I'm putting back. Now I'm going to do the same process for the 4x6 cards. And I like that citrus fruit card for my title card. I'm just going to look at what else they have here, but I'm going to go with that. And really, that's the only 4x6 card that I need at this point, because it looks like photos are going to cover most of my cards, but I will come back and get another 4x6 at some point in my process here. The stamp sets are very summer oriented as well, but there were a few that I decided to keep. Those stamp sets are from Studio Calico as well as from Ali Edwards, and I'll talk about each one if I use them as I use them. I have some ephemera here as well, but I think that will end up in an insert as well. There might end up being quite a few inserts in this page because a lot happened on week 36, which is the week that just went by. You may have noticed that there's a big gap in my project life. I'm either going to skip those days or cover them. I haven't quite decided. I know I'm going to scrapbook the week before last because it was also really eventful, but I might just leave the rest of the summer because I do have a summer project that covers our road trip, and that might be all that I need to cover for the summer of 2022. We'll see. So I'm going to start by making my week title card. And so I have the Ellie Studio Hazel letter stamp set here, and I have decided that I'm finally going to start using packing tape to attach my stamp backings to my stamp fronts. This will allow me to just peel back the backing and not have to worry about it getting lost, and it's also a lot easier to reapply it when it's attached via packing tape. So that's what I'm going to do. You'll see me do that often today because this is the first time that I'm scrapping since I've decided to do that. Well, I decided a while ago, but it's the first time that I'm actually taking the time to find some packing tape and have it handy to do that with. So I was too lazy to go to the sink to re-wet my Stampin' Up stamp chamois there, and I should have just gone to the sink because the amount of time it took me to spray some water and get it all soaked up, I could have just run to the sink and wrung it out, but that's fine. I'm going to use my VersaFine Black Onyx ink to stamp out the word week, and I'm really impressed with that ink. It's so dark and bright. It's really great for stamping on patterned paper like this. I just have some labels that I put onto sticker back paper, and that's that waxy paper, and I just stuck it into my label little sticker book there. And so I'm stamping out week number 36, and then I just use my roller date stamp to stamp out September 5th to 11th. And then I'll just use a marker to put a little dash between the two. And this is when I realized, wait a minute, I am missing a kit here, and it's the August Studio Calico Documenter Kit. So I grabbed that, but I'm going to stick with this orange patterned paper. And I feel like that label is just getting lost a little bit. It's not lost, like you can see it, but I just felt like I wanted to emphasize it and give it a little bit more boldness. So I'm going to mat it on this royal blue cardstock. It's not really a navy blue, it's more of a royal blue. And that just adds some emphasis to it. But I also decided to double mat it, and I'll put it right on this white cardstock as well. That will just help provide some separation between the label that says week 36 and the background paper. So that's how it's going to look, only I decided to, whoops, it was upside down first of all, so let's put it the right side up. And I decided to make it be a little bit more centered, but not exactly centered. So that's it for the title card. And now I'm just going to think about what other cards I might want to use here. There are several cards in the Studio Calico Documenter Kit from August that have back to school sayings or statements. This little card has in the center of it, it says rise and shine, and I'm going to use one of my punches. Nope, that one won't fit, but this one is the yellow one. I think it's 1 7/16 of an inch. That was the best size for that. I love having my punches on hand. I keep them in a Razcog nearby, so I just run over and grab a handful of circle punches whenever I want to punch something. I use my punches so much more now that I store them that way. It's really working out well for me. So I'm using my roller date stamp to stamp out September 7th, 2022, because that was the first day of school. And this is just a photo of their sneakers and backpacks, and I got a bit of ink, stray ink on that, but I tried to use my eraser to reduce how impactful that stray ink was, but it's still, you can still see it, but that's okay. And then that's enough of an embellishment on that one for now. I'll come back and add a little something to it, but I don't want to add too much to many of these photos. This photo has a lot going on with all the people and the sign, and it's at the airport, and I don't really want to cover up the busyness of it because it adds to the atmosphere of the photo. So I just added a roller date stamp that says September 4th, 2022. And now this is a photo of Sophie and our international student from Germany. Her name is Annabelle, and she will be featured prominently in this spread, so you'll see lots of Annabelle. I thought I might have a stamp set about self-care that might have face masks or something similar on it, but I actually don't. And I didn't bother searching my database because if it wasn't in that section that I thought it was in, I know I don't have it, so I just left it. Now this is an Allie Edwards stamp for the month of August. It says here for the good vibes, and I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz as my ink, and watch this. Yeah, yikes, that's really bad. You can't see because I'm not zoomed in enough, but that part that says here for the on the side, it really overstamped that. Basically, the Pear Pizzazz ink pad is way too juicy, and I pushed way too hard, which resulted in the ink going in between the letters. And then also when I stamped down, I also stamped a little bit too hard so that all of that extra ink oozed out and created a big blob there. So I've decided that I'm going to reprint that photo and try it again. And while I'm waiting for it to print, I decided to add the packing tape to this stamp set as well. And now I have a new photo, and oh, that one didn't stamp right either. Now I have a big gap on the side of it. So I'm going to reprint that once again. And this time I'm going to use my Misty tool, which maybe I should have used anyways. Whenever I want to do really specific stamping, I just quickly reprinted that again, which was easy to do because it was still on my computer screen. And now I'm just using a very light touch to add the ink to the stamp, and another very light touch here. And thank goodness for using my stamp platform, because this Misty tool means that I could restamp without making a big mess on the part that already worked. So now it says here for the good vibes, and I like how that turned out. Yeah, see, that worked well. And I like how the here for the seems to curve along the edge of the cushion. It doesn't curve exactly, but it does a pretty good job. It looks like it was meant to be that way, even though it was just an accident. So now I'm going to address this center part with the 4 3x4 pockets. And it looks like I'm reprinting again that Sobeys poster that I already reprinted once because it was 4x6. I printed it down to 2x4, and now I'm waiting for it to print again in an even smaller version. I'm just thinking about which cards I might want to use here, and I'm looking for a card that will be, well, I also found those school supplies, which I want to use somewhere else. But I decided to go with this notebook paper with the paper airplane on it. I printed this down to even smaller than 2x3. I think it was 1.5 by 2.5. And these two cards go together. It's a photo. It's basically a screenshot of one of Liv's Be Real posts. And pardon me, it just shows her in the room where she does her work for her Sobeys job. At this point, she had 2 jobs. Just going to add the packing tape to this stamp set as well. And so this is her Be Real post from her job on her very last day at this job. She had 2 jobs for a little while this summer, but her intention was always to resign from the Sobeys job, because she really, really loves the teamwork. Sobeys job is more of a lone job, and she really likes The problem with a lone job is that when you're not too busy, you're all by yourself, and she doesn't like not being busy. So when you're working on a team, there's always another thing you can do, even if your role is not very busy. You can always pitch in and help with someone else's role. So she likes the Starbucks job for that reason. She's always wanted to work for Starbucks. So I'm just stamping out using, again, that's that hazel font from Ellie Studio, but this time I'm using the smallest version of that. I have the medium one and the regular one. So this is the regular one. I wish they made a large. I don't think they do. If they do, please let me know, because I would love to buy this font in all of its sizes because I really love it. I trimmed down that label just a little bit so that it's shorter, and I'm just going to stick it so that it looks like it's kind of pointing at her face there up in the corner. And then this is the poster that the other girls made for her while she was at her last shift. Sophie and Annabelle made this sign for Liv to celebrate her last day at Sobeys. And they put it on her door as a surprise. So I thought that was pretty sweet of them to do that. They used my scrapbooking supplies and put the Sobeys logo on there and everything. They did a really good job. I've decided to not use that photo of Sophie. It's a selfie that I just took from Instagram or Be Real or something. And I decided not to use it because there's just so much to capture, and there wasn't really a story to go with that photo. It was just a nice photo. So I'm going to use this You Live and You Learn. I thought it was good for back to school. I made a last minute switch there with that photo on the yellow card instead of that white card with all those little banners on it, because the banner card was just too distracting. And this one fits with my color scheme here. I'm doing lots of oranges and yellows and browny reds and stuff for back to school. And it's not really fall here yet, but I do store my Tombow Mono Multi upside down, and at this point, it's starting to get a little oozy every time I open it because there's like negative pressure in it or something. So I think what I need to do is open the back side of it in order to reduce the pressure when I store it that way. So I'm going to mount that 2x3-inch photo of us playing cards on that yellow sticker from, or not sticker, but card from Studio Calico. And now I'm grabbing some stamp sets that have a board game theme. I have the In a Creative Bubble Game Night from Studio Calico, and I also have Ellie's Studio. I think it's called Game Night as well. I'll hold it up in a few minutes so you can see the title of it. But I'm starting with the In a Creative Bubble. I'm just going to put the packing tape on these. Again, I'm sorry to include this, but it is kind of part of my process, is that I'm just kind of doing this as I go so that if I ever sit down to do this all at once, I've got some of them already done. It's easy enough to just do it as I go here. So I'm grabbing this one that says Let's Play, and then it's got little tick boxes that say board game and card game. And because I'm stamping directly on the card with the photo already attached to it, I just want to make sure I do this right. So I'm going to use my Misty tool. I'm conditioning that stamp with a white eraser, just very gently rubbing the manufacturer's film off of it. And look at how beautifully that stamps. That's just gorgeous. I love that VersaFine black onyx ink. It's my favorite. I'm just ticking off card game. And I'm taking a look at the stamps because I'm thinking I might want to use another stamp. This is the Ellie Studio stamp set. I'm putting it back now, but I think I'm actually going to take it out again in a minute. I want to spell out the word Sushi Go because that's the game that we were playing. And I think that this blue letter sticker is a nice complementary color to the yellow. And it's also picks up on the blue in the cards on the table as well. So I'm just spelling out Sushi Go, which is really difficult to read right now, but I'm going to outline it with black marker to just increase the legibility a little bit and also make those letters pop off of the card a little bit as well. So I'll zoom in so you can see that process. And for the outlining, I'm just going to use my plain Sharpie pen. This is not a Sharpie marker. Sharpie markers will bleed quite a bit on regular cardstock. The Sharpie pen is more of a felt tip pen and not a permanent marker. So I'm just gently going around the outside edges of all of the letter stickers here just to make them pop. And I really like how that looks. And then that photo of Annabelle and Scott is, I think it works really well there. Now from the Ellie Studio stamp set, which I'll hold it up in a second, I'm pretty sure I held it up. I'm just going to mask off part of this stamp. This is a stamp that says games played and then winners. And I'm trying to mask off just the line above winners so that it really just says winners and then a line. I'm stamping it. It didn't stamp perfectly. I'm going to go back and fix it. So Game Time is the name. So that one is called Game Night and this one is called Game Time. Now I'm just very, very carefully going over the word winners just to make it be a little bit more emphasized. I just took my time with that. And I grabbed a bit of a thicker marker here to spell out the word Annabelle because she kicked our butts the first time she ever played this game. So those cork star shapes that I'm using, those came in a Studio Calico Documenter kit. And they're a really great fall themed embellishment because they look brown. Now I want to document Annabelle's first time on a school bus, so this card is perfect and I want the yellow bus to be the one that shows, and I'm going to try to design the card so that all the other buses are covered up. I just don't know exactly how I'm going to do that yet. Switching to my precision scissors here so that I can go around the pencil and also around the eraser. And I just left a little bit of the beige border on this kind of bunch of school supplies. I'm going to play around with placement a little bit here, but I like it this way the best with the protractor looking like it's horizontal. And I'll put a couple more of these cork stars right here that came in the Studio Calico kit. There's also all these little die cut pieces that I thought might be okay. If not for this card, then maybe for one of the other cards. So I used my Tombow Mono Multi to glue those down. And now I want a pencil, and maybe the pencil can be pointing at something like maybe this to-do list. So I just had to have a look at what I wanted to write here, and I'm writing, have a great first day at school on the to-do list. I'm just going to trim it down a little bit so it doesn't cover quite so much of my photo. And then I'll also trim this down because it had too much of an outline on it. I like that better. I did want to have some outline on it, just not so much. So put that right there on the flower bush, and then there we go. Those two. Liv left at a different time than the other two, and then the other two walked with their friend. Liv left a little bit later because she was driving because she had to go to her work right after school. And the other folks didn't want to go with her in the car because it was the first day of school, so they wanted to take the bus. Usually they'll drive with Liv when Liv drives, but not this time. So I'm just thinking about how I'm going to cover that pink school bus because I just think it looks weird to have two school buses there. It's a photo that Annabelle took. It's a selfie or an ussie, as she says. She's watching Ted Lasso with us, so she said she sent me an ussie, which I love. And I'm just looking for something to cover up that pink bus. And I like this. I love these friends or whatever. But Annabelle literally just met these people a few days ago at this point. So I think that's a little bit of an overstatement to say I love these people. So I'm going to cover it with washi tape and then put the special time of year chipboard on there instead. And you know, if you look carefully, you can still see the wheels on the bus. And if you looked really carefully, you could deduce that there's another school bus there, but it's not so distracting looking. And I like the way it looks like this. I'll use my roller date stamp to stamp out September 7th, which is the first day of school. And everything was a little bit too lined up, so I decided to add a little star here just to offset it a little bit to the left. So it didn't look like every element on the card was all lined up in a row. Now here is another Be Real post from Liv, and it is of her Starbucks job this time. So on the same spread, I have one Be Real post of her Sobeys job and one of her Starbucks job. On this one, she's on a break, so it's not showing the back room or anything. It's just showing the store itself. And she's having a Starbucks drink there. And so I'm using these Paper Person letter stickers. So they're the same brand of the blue ones I used to spell out Sushi Go. I like repeating the font there, but I really like how this color looks on the wooden table. It's very fall-like. I'll just move the J up a little bit so that the spacing is similar for all three of these words. And it says new Starbucks job. I'll cut a 1 in order to make a exclamation point. Oops, it's a little bit too long, so I'll cut it down a bit more. Sorry, that happened off screen. And then a little period there to dot the exclamation point. And there we go. New Starbucks job. I'll add a little something there. You can probably guess what I'm going to add to that based on what I've added so far to the other things. I've decided to add a filler card here instead of whatever was there before. I just decided whatever it was, I didn't need it. I thought about adding some of these, but no, that's too much. I like the card just the way it is, so we'll just leave it. And now here is Sophie and Annabelle in my kitchen, and they have Go Sharks written across their knuckles. It's so cute. And I wanted to use that same font from Sushi Go. It's also from Paper Person. And I'm just going to spell Go Sharks, but I'm lining up the letters so that it's landing in a place where you're going to be able to see it. So not on Annabelle's legs. I really like the contrast of her black shorts with the blue letters. So I wanted most of the word sharks to be on Annabelle's shorts. Now I have a bit of a caption, not really a story, but just a caption to tell with this. So I decided to put it on this card. This yellow shows up in so many different places on this spread, so I liked using this card. And I just wanted to cut out another element here to add to this. I decided to go with this little piece that says, "People forget years and remember moments." I'm just going to put it right here. It does blend in with Sophie's shirt, but I actually kind of like that. It keeps it from being too loud on the already busy photo. And I included the header and footer for the Be Real screenshot here just to add some contexts so that someday we might look back and say, oh yeah, Be Real. Remember when everybody was posting their everyday life on Be Real for a while there? I mean, maybe Be Real will become a huge thing long term, and then we'll think, well, remember when Be Real was new. So I just wrote across the top there, Sophie and Annabelle went to the mall for BTS clothes. That means back to school clothes, not the K-pop band. And then I was just looking for something kind of understated for this kind of somber card here about the Queen's passing. So this was one from my stash there. And I have the newspaper screenshot there, but I also printed that in a larger size so that you can actually read it, and that's one of my inserts. So it's okay that you can't actually read it here. It's more, I'm just kind of documenting that it's a news story. And I subscribe to the Washington Post via their app, and it It's changed. I used to subscribe for many years and then I stopped for about a year, and I just recently resubscribed. And one new thing about the app is that they have the print edition included in your digital subscription now. So that's really great for Project Life because it's nice to have an actual picture of a newspaper instead of just like the digital version of a story, which looks more like a Facebook post or a Twitter post or something. So I really like this about this feature of that subscription now. I have a couple of stamp sets that are part of my bad news or hard stuff category of stamp sets. And these are, I will find the names of them. So it's called Bad News by Paper Person. That's the main set that I'm using. And then if you see those ones in the background, I'm not going to use them, but those are from Studio L2E. And so I stamped that one that says bad, 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 really bad news in navy blue in Night of Navy from Stampin' Up. And now I also really liked this one. It was very appropriate. It says feeling the weight of it all. It's from the same stamp set. I'm going to stamp that in Calypso Coral, also from Stampin' Up. It's my favorite ink company, so I'll stamp that right there. And it's nice and understated because it's tone on tone. I didn't really want this card to be too bright and colorful or decorative because it's reflective of a somber story. And then I'm just going to add a caption there that says, I was surprised how sad I was about the Queen's passing. And that's really all I need to say about that. There's so much happening this week that I just don't need to do a whole lot of journaling about it all. The stamps that I chose kind of tell it all. So here is my main spread. And as I said, I'll do a separate video about the inserts. I'm just kind of getting it all sorted out for a screenshot here for my thumbnail, but also hang in there because I'm going to add a few more of those little cork embellishments every here and there, just to finish it off. So I pulled out all of them so I could know what I have to work with. I'll put a tiny one right here on the couch and another. I wish I had a smaller one of these stars, but that's the smallest one of that kind of star that I had. I'll put feeling the weight of it all right there. And then I will add one to the new Starbucks job as well. Put it right there. I think that's it. Oh, right. I'm going to put one there, but don't. I really wish I didn't do that. It really throws off that card. Yeah. So if I were doing it again, I would not have put that cork on the Sobeys poster card because between that paper plane and the star element, it's like either too symmetrical. Also, I dropped it, so I had to quickly grab a baby wipe and just dab off the glue there. But yeah, it's throwing off the design of that card. It's too symmetrical now, and I don't like it, but that's okay. It gets the job done of telling the story about that poster that the girls made for Liv, because that was a kind thing that they did, and I wanted to make sure that that got documented. So here we are. Everything is done. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank my patrons for supporting my channel. It's thanks to the support of these folks that you see here, like Jeanette and Stephanie and Laura and Caroline and Antonia and Nikki, who helped make this channel happen. So big thanks to them. Here's how this spread ended up looking overall. I didn't get a chance to take close-ups because I've got a lot of scrapping and stuff to do, but thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate you watching, liking, subscribing, commenting on my channel. Those are all ways that you can support me, even without joining Patreon. So thanks so much and have a really great scrappy week.